Covering an area of 450,000 square kilometers, Sweden is the fifth largest country in Europe, but has only 10.6 million inhabitants. The landscape here has an almost surreal beauty. With nearly 70% of its area covered by endless pine forests and thousands of lakes as smooth as mirrors, Sweden's nature exudes a vibrant vitality. That's why people often joke that, here, just breathing the air is enough to keep you healthy. The winter here is bitterly cold and drags on endlessly, while the summer passes like a dream with white nights that never see the sun set. If you stroll through the streets, you will often encounter beautiful women with shiny blonde hair and captivating blue eyes. They are famous for the lagom style, living simply and just enough. Even more surprisingly, this Nordic land is home to empires that shape global lifestyles such as IKEA, Spotify, H&M, and even the famous game Minecraft. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Sweden's development speed has reached a level as quick as flipping a hand. This country has almost said goodbye to cash. But beyond just scanning QR codes or swiping cards, thousands of people here have voluntarily implanted microchips the size of a grain of rice just under the skin of their hands. With just a gentle wave of the hand, they can unlock their homes, buy a latte, or walk straight through the subway gate. A peaceful paradise, yet harmoniously digitized. In this video, let's step into the life of Sweden, a place with beautiful women, strange customs, and hidden truths that tourists will never know. And before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Which country are you watching this video from? This really brings great value to us. But wait, Sweden creates human life perfectly, yet their wonderful system is creating a laughable paradox. What would you think if one of the greenest and cleanest countries on the planet was desperately importing trash? A country where less than 1% of household waste is sent to landfills. In Sweden, sorting waste is not a legal obligation when you grow up. It is a lesson learned from early childhood in kindergarten. In large cities like Stockholm or Gothenburg, you will never see smelly garbage collection trucks in the open. Instead, there is a gigantic vacuum tube system running underground, automatically sucking waste from buildings directly to the processing center at the speed of a motorcycle. A closed system, clean to the point of being sterile. However, this extreme perfection has pushed Sweden into a unique crisis in human history. They are running out of trash. That's right. Their waste-to-energy plants and heating systems operate so efficiently that the waste from over 10 million people is not enough to serve as fuel. To maintain the energy needed to keep millions of homes warm through the dark winter, Sweden has been forced to implement an unimaginable solution, importing over 1.5 million tons of waste each year from neighboring countries like Norway, the UK, and Italy. The strange thing is, these countries have to pay huge sums of money for Sweden to clean up their waste. What is considered toxic waste in the rest of the world, when it crosses the border into Sweden, suddenly transforms into a valuable black gold, illuminating an entire nation. Looking at this paradox, do you think other countries should adopt this technology or prioritize changing the community's mindset first? Please leave your opinion in the comments section. And if you find these analyses interesting, please hit the subscribe button and we will continue to cover such topics. Waste can be processed by algorithms and soulless machines. But there is an entity in Sweden, independent, mysterious, and beyond the programming or control of any computer system. Those are the women here. What hidden truths lie behind the shimmering golden hair of these women that tourists have never known? The girls possess shiny golden hair, deep blue eyes, and graceful figures, with beauty often ranked among the best in the world. Tourists always expect to witness a dazzling fashion show right on the streets, where women showcase their charm and luxury. But when you actually walk on the boulevards of Stockholm, you will realize that the reality is completely different. Women here do not dress to attract attention. It seems they dress to make an effort, not to stand out. It is still the invisible influence of the modesty culture known as jante. Adorning oneself with designer items bearing huge logos or heavy makeup during the day is not at all praised. On the contrary, it is often considered tacky and lacking in sophistication. Their true beauty does not lie in ostentation, but radiates from a demeanor of self-control and elegance to the point of minimalism. That composure does not stop at the crease of a shirt or the color of lipstick. It is deeply ingrained in the way they define themselves in a gender-equal society. Don't be shocked when you find out that on a first date in Sweden, a man proactively offering to pay is not considered an obvious act of gallantry. Even, it can be considered a lack of respect. Swedish women take pride in splitting the bill. They personally take the hammer to assemble IKEA wooden cabinets, chart their own financial paths, and never sit waiting for a white knight to open the car door or rescue their lives. They actively reject the usual appearance of weakness to don a resilient independence. It is precisely this refusal to rely on others that inadvertently creates a powerful and remarkably unique allure. What do you think about this way of living? Absolute independence is a step forward for freedom, or is it diluting traditional romance? Please leave a comment below. And if you want to win over a Swedish woman, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and comment number 8. I will show you 3 tips you can apply right away. But wait, Swedish women are so independent that it seems they don't need a man to lean on. And the consequence of that independence is a startling truth. They are also gradually rejecting marriage certificates. In Sweden, traditional marriage seems to be fading away due to a very strange concept. With an exceptionally high employment rate and management positions, along with a solid lifelong social welfare system, women here hold the ultimate weapon: financial independence. They don't need a man to provide economic support. This absolute independence has caused the marriage rate in Sweden to drop to an unprecedented level. But don't be quick to think they are cold or turning their backs on love. In fact, they are not rejecting love. They are simply structuring it through a concept called Sambo, which means living together legally. The surprising point is that in Sweden, Sambo is not a timid trial before marriage, but a legitimate and recognized destination. As soon as the two decide to move in together under one roof, the Sambo Act will be automatically activated. Immediately, the law steps in to protect their shared property and child custody rights, just like an official couple, without the need for any extravagant wedding or marriage certificate. The reality is that millions of Swedish women are freely buying homes, having children, and living happily ever after under the name of Sambo. Love in the Nordic countries seems to have shed all the glittering material layers. Here, commitment is not measured by the size of the diamond on the hand, but is truly counted by how many sleepless nights the man is willing to share to take care of the child. What do you think about this Sambo model? Is a completely voluntary bond more enduring than a marriage certificate? Please comment to discuss with me. And when it comes to sleepless nights with the baby, Sweden continues to upend long-standing gender stereotypes like you've never seen before. Have you ever heard of the strange term latte dads? Latte papas. A visual shock that shatters all gender norms of the world. These men carry the blood of the legendary Viking warriors who once conquered the seas of northern Europe. But in modern Sweden, their battlefields are parks and cafes. They are completely redefining masculinity. The grandeur of a man is no longer measured by how much money he earns to prove his status as the breadwinner, but by his patience and skillful diaper-changing speed. This strange transformation is not a spontaneous trend. It is designed by a framework law that is both structured and deeply humane. The Swedish government grants parents a huge parental leave fund, 480 days. But there is an ultimatum attached. At least 90 days must be reserved for the father. The rule is extremely strict. Use it or lose it. If the father refuses to stay home to take care of the child, the family will permanently lose those 3 months of paid leave. This policy has created a generation of men who proudly wear baby carriers on their chests like a badge of honor. If you find the paradox of interesting latte dads intriguing, take a moment to subscribe to our channel to support us. But wait. The calmness, warmth, and orderliness of these diaper Vikings make us think that Swedes are born so gentle. But don't let that orderliness deceive you. There is still one day a year when this facade of rationality is shattered, giving way to the most enchanting and wildest things that rise. On Midsummer, all reason and decorum are stripped away. Midsummer was created to celebrate the longest day of sunlight in the year. What surprises tourists the most is witnessing the once serious directors now wearing bright flower crowns on their heads, drinking merrily, and carefree, holding hands to dance the little frogs around a giant pole symbolizing fertility. The summer solstice night is also a moment when folk magic awakens. The young girls quietly walked into the forest, gathering 7 different wildflowers in silence. They placed the bouquet under their pillows, with the strong belief that the figure of their future husband would be revealed to them by the gods through a dream. And if midsummer is the explosion of summer, then Street Lucia's day is the wildfire in the dark winter. According to ancient Norse beliefs, this is the longest, coldest night and the time when demonic forces reign. The Lucia procession was created with the meaning of bringing the sacred flame to drive away the darkness and ignite hope. In the midst of the peak of the long, freezing nights of December, a scene both sacred and somewhat dangerous emerges. The young girls in pure white cloaks, tied with red sashes, led a ghostly procession through the still night. The most shocking highlight is the crown on their heads. It is adorned with real burning candles that drip wax. Hidden beneath the facade of a modern, atheistic, and highly technocratic nation, the Swedes seem to still use fire, flowers, and instinctual dances to warm the coldness of reason. This intense release of instincts is like a way for them to vent social pressure. But to maintain a sustainable order for centuries, Sweden has quietly instilled discipline from the time its citizens were still children, through a very strict set of rules. Sweden is often likened to an ultimate paradise for children. Here, education is completely free, and corporal punishment is a concept that does not exist. As early as 1979, Sweden shocked the world by becoming the first country to enact a law banning all forms of corporal punishment against children. Instead of using adult authority to impose, you will often see Swedish fathers and mothers kneeling on the ground, keeping their eyes level with their children to explain and negotiate. The children here are empowered to speak up, listened to, and treated with respect as true, independent individuals. But does that absolute freedom create a generation of spoiled and indulgent children? Contrary to what many people think, Sweden instills discipline in children not through shouting, but through a unique cultural custom called Saturday candy. Although they have a strong passion for sweets, an unwritten rule dictates that children are almost grounded from candy from Sunday until the end of Friday. Despite the brightly colored candy walls calling out to them every time they go to the supermarket with their parents, the children learn to suppress their cravings throughout the long week. Only on Saturdays are they allowed to take a paper bag and freely raid the candy aisle as they wish. This is not merely a medical campaign to protect oral health. Deeper than that, it is an excellent psychological lesson on delayed gratification. The ability to resist immediate gratification in order to wait for a greater reward has been ingrained in the DNA of every Swedish citizen since they were just 3 years old. What do you think about this Saturday candy rule? Restricting sweets for a whole week is a harsh measure or a great educational method? Let's discuss together, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel because children practice restraint through sweet candies. But as they grow up, the taste of Swedes takes a turn that terrifies the whole world. Would you dare to taste a dish so smelly that it is banned from being opened indoors? When it comes to Swedish cuisine, the world often immediately thinks of safety, simplicity, and elegance. Amid the dark and endlessly long winters, the souls of the Nordics are healed by fika, an almost sacred ritual where everyone sets aside their busy work, sits down with a warm cup of coffee, and enjoys a fragrant cinnamon roll. And of course, one cannot miss the famous meatballs served with sweet and sour lingonberry jam. A perfect blend of flavors that brings a sense of safety, pleasing diners from all over the world. But behind that elegant exterior The taste of the Swedes hides some hard-to-believe contradictions. Don't be surprised if on Friday evening, instead of enjoying top-notch Nordic salmon, the entire nation enthusiastically indulges in Mexican tacos. This weekend tradition is called fredagsmys. However, the pinnacle of cultural shock, the thing that shatters all elegant images of Sweden, is surströmming, fermented herring. Its smell is so terrible that it is often likened to a type of biological weapon. Apartment complexes impose a strict ban on opening cans inside the house, and airlines outright prohibit passengers from bringing it on board due to concerns that the pressure could cause the distinctive smell to explode. The Swedes are so nonchalant about that peculiarity that they even opened a museum of terrible food in the city of Malmö. Through the smelliest foods on the planet, they want to demonstrate a profound philosophy. What you consider delicious or disgusting is actually just a prejudice formed by the place you were born. Do you have enough courage to take a bite of surströmming herring? Please share with me in the comments. Sweden is ready to expose its smelliest dishes to the light. Yet there are incredibly harsh social shadows they are struggling to face behind the glory of a livable paradise. For over 2 centuries, this country maintained a neutral stance, staying out of all the brutal wars. They have built a solid foundation of human rights, a peaceful haven ready to embrace refugees from all hot spots around the world. However, reality is wearing down the endurance of those directly involved. In recent years, the harmony of this nation has been repeatedly disrupted by a sudden increase in gang violence, especially in the suburbs of Malmö and Stockholm. News reports about armed conflicts or organized crime have shattered the image of a completely safe society. Sweden is being pushed into an unprecedented identity crisis. How can it continue to uphold the banner of tolerance when the core of the nation's personal safety is under threat? If you find these realistic perspectives help you understand the world more deeply, please subscribe to our channel to continue accompanying us. Facing the growing social fractures, the Swedes did not choose to flee. They patiently held their ground. Perhaps because they understand that, in order to maintain the enormous welfare system to salvage the situation, they are paying a cost so high that it leaves anyone breathless. If there is one thing that shocks American tourists when they set foot in Sweden, it is not the long winter or the days when the sun hardly sets. It's the prices. Gasoline is among the most expensive in Europe. If you want to buy a bottle of wine for the weekend dinner, good luck. Alcohol here is exclusively controlled by the state through the Systembolaget store chain. They are heavily taxed, close very early, and almost completely cease operations on weekends. A simple dinner is enough to make many people reconsider the bill. But that's not all. If you work here, the personal income tax can devour nearly 60% of the monthly salary of high-income earners. At first glance, Sweden seems like a place that continuously drains your wallet. But interestingly, Swedes rarely complain about it. The peak of the strangeness was in 2016, when the Swedish government recorded a huge budget surplus, partly because the citizens voluntarily overpaid their taxes. Why is there such a strange acceptance? Because the Swedes do not see taxes as a deprivation. With the mindset of the law of Jante, they see it as a transaction to buy back peace. That enormous amount of money buys them an invaluable privilege: freedom from fear. Here, a serious illness does not mean a bankruptcy sentence for the whole family. They don't have to tighten their belts to save up for their children's college tuition. And they also don't have to live in constant fear of poverty when they reach old age. They seem to accept living a life without too many dazzling billionaires flaunting their luxury, in exchange for a society where people strive not to leave anyone behind. Sweden is clearly not a flawless paradise. It is a society full of intertwined truths. People wrapped in a cocoon of isolation, yet always embracing community. Modern, tough women who still believe in ancient magic. A peaceful country struggling to preserve its identity amidst profound changes. After traversing all the hidden corners and glimmers of glory, if given the choice, would you choose to keep all the money in your pocket Or accept paying high taxes in exchange for a life free from fear like the Swedes? And if given the chance, would you dare to implant a chip in your hand or taste the stinky surströmming fish? Please share your opinion in the comments section. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the next mysterious lands with us. Who knows? Tomorrow's destination might completely upend your worldview. Perhaps the greatest paradox of Sweden does not lie in the high taxes or the expensive cost of living. The paradox lies in the fact that millions of people are willing to pay that price, because what they are buying is not just public services or welfare programs. What they are buying is peace of mind. It's the feeling that if one day life suddenly falls apart, there will always be a protective layer large enough to help them stand up and move on. This video is created solely for the purpose of providing knowledge, diverse perspectives, and entertainment. The content in the video should not be considered as professional, financial, legal, medical, or immigration advice. The information and data in the video are compiled from reputable sources at the time of production and may change in the future. Thank you for watching, and see you again.